It's the show you've been waiting for.
I know you've been waiting.
Just sit back, you will see. You're gonna want some more. They talk about love, life, fam, fun, all in one. Let's take a ride. It just begun. Come on, everybody, you sure to get your laugh on. It's the Candy Kev Show.
Here in front of the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis. The community continues to press for justice and accountability for the murder of
Why wait? Why wait for these one of your people? That don't make no sense.
All right, so hopefully we fixed all of the sound issues and you can hear us properly now.
Thank you for your patience. Every now and then you run into some technical difficulty beyond our control, and with a live show, unfortunately, you find out those technical difficulties are happening while you're actually live. So hopefully we were able to get through it. Please let us know whether you were able to, you're hearing us fine now. You can send us the thumbs up. Great. They said they can hear us. So we're good to go now. Great. So Candy, you were saying.
So today is, let me start over. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Car Conversations, the stay at home. Did I say that properly?
Mm-hmm.
Let me start that over. Welcome to Car Conversations with Candy and Kev, the stay at home edition. Before we go any further, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and hit that share button. This morning, the conversation, although it really is hard to have these conversations, but they're necessary conversations.
A lot of times we do come to you, we want to make you laugh, we want to make you, bring joy to your day. But every now and then we have to tackle conversations that are difficult to talk about. But we have to be responsible with our platform and make sure that we're addressing certain issues. That being said, today we're dealing with racism in America. You guys have been watching the news. You guys have been seeing everything that's happening on social media. And we felt like today was an opportunity where we wanted to address some of the things head on. One of the first stories that we're getting into is a little bit of a... I love Jimmy Fallon. I love Jimmy Fallon. I think Jimmy Fallon is one of the greatest nighttime entertainment guys. He's responsible for local guys making success in their careers. He's a great dude. And unfortunately, he did a skit where it seemed harmless, but going down the line, you'll understand why African Americans are sensitive to certain things. Jimmy Fallon did an impersonation of Chris Rock on Saturday Night Live, which he did blackface, has come back to haunt him. It seems unbelievable, but much of the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last year, Fallon's late to learn the lesson on doing blackface at any point in the past and has now regretted. We're going to take a small look at the clip.
It is important to say that this was something that he did 20 years ago. So we're not saying that he did it recently on the show, but the importance of it is that 20 years ago, 20 years in the future, is still never an acceptable behavior.
Yeah, and we'll see with our next story why we're sensitive to certain things like that. Let's just take a quick look at the clip.
Rock, now we're talking. Where is he? Man, oh man, read this book. I've seen Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and guess what? Not a lot of black folks on the show. Right. Not a lot of black folks folks on the show. You know why? Because black folks don't like to answer questions. Oh, they want to be millionaires, but you got to ask that kind of question like, in 1981, how many grams of crack did Rick James smoke when he recorded?
Now you might say he was just doing a comedy bit, like Dave Chappelle. He's done whiteface, why are African Americans so sensitive to? One of the things that I do respect that Jimmy Fallon did take in consideration, or he said, or he tweeted, he said in 2000, while I was on SNN, I made a terrible decision to do an impersonation of Chris Rock while in blackface. There is no excuse for this. I am very sorry for making this unquestionable, offensive decision, and thank all of you for holding me accountable. So, Jimmy Fallon did go ahead and address it head on. He didn't deny. He didn't make any excuses of it. He said it was untasteful. And again, a lot of times you look at comedy and you say, well, it's just to bring humor to certain situations. And how could he portray a black person if he didn't look like him or whatever? But it's stories like the one that we're going to get into where, unfortunately, a New York lady, Kenny, I don't know if you want to.
So there was a woman who has now been dubbed Central Park Karen. She was in Central Park with her dog, and her dog was not on its leash. And there was an African American gentleman on his bike that was coming by. And I just want to tell you, as a person that runs, I haven't biked in a long time, but it is a serious thing. Like I protect myself, I'll put it like that, when I'm running, because you never know. As a woman, I never know if there's going to be a man that tries to attack me or an animal that tries to attack me. And a couple of months ago, before the quarantine, I had posted about how the one time I didn't carry my form of protection with me, I had a woman who was a white woman who didn't have her dog on a leash, and the dog came at me, and I kicked the dog. And she kind of was upset with me, but I wasn't going to let that dog bite me. So it is a real thing. He wasn't just overreacting, but in any event,
Did you want to? We can take a look at the clip.
We can take a look at the clip, but this woman is now being called Central Park Karen. She, we'll take a look at the clip and then we'll talk a little more about it.
Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm in the Ramble, and there is a man, African American, he has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the Ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the Ramble. I don't know.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So as you can see in the video, she intentionally began to elevate and escalate her voice to make it seem that she was in fact being attacked, when that was not the case at all. Her real name is Amy Cooper, but she's been dubbed Central Park Karen. All the gentleman was asking her to do was to put her dog on the leash. First of all, that is what is proper protocol, especially when you have bicyclers and you have runners, because they will in fact come for you. And she even, if anything, she threatens him. He just said, "Can you put the leash on your dog?" She threatened him to say, "I'm going to call the cops." And she specifically said, "And tell them that there is an African American man threatening me." And as you can see, she began to elevate her voice to make it seem as if she was, in fact, being attacked, and that was not true. And as you also saw on the video, as he requested, once she did put her leash on the dog, because at that point, the dog was confused. He said thank you, and he continued on. Now, Amy Cooper was terminated effective immediately on Tuesday from her job at an investment firm, Franklin Templeton, following a storm of criticism over the video that was posted. They made the statement, if you'll just scroll down a little. "We have made the decision to terminate the employee involved," Franklin Templeton wrote on their official Twitter account, adding, "We do not tolerate any kind of racism. We do not tolerate racism of any kind." Christian Cooper, who was the African American male, was bird watching, and he asked Amy Cooper, to leash her dog, to which she didn't. Now, I have to just say that, I had kind of slacked off, to, be honest, as far as sometimes I did carry a personal protection with me when I would go out on my runs, especially if it was an area that I frequent, because I know that there was county police officers who happened to patrol that part. But on the days following the attack, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, I began to protect myself again when I run, and have it very visible, so anyone who encounters me when I'm running will see that I have a form of protection in my hand. 2 days after the Ahmaud Arbery murder, and when it all broke, and a couple of weeks ago, when there was a lot of news media about it, I went on a run in a park that I have been running in this park for God knows how long, maybe 6 years. And for the first time ever, now mind you, I've been running in this park for 6 years, there were young white males in pickup trucks who had congregated. They were not running. They were not even dressed in athletic wear. They had all pulled their pickup trucks together into a formation, and then they were standing outside of their trucks in an intimidating way. Now, I wasn't intimidated, and I didn't show fear, but I did show that this ain't what you want, because I have something for you. And I did have my earbuds in, and I kept running on by. I don't know what they were saying, but the point of it is, and this is here in New Jersey, these are things that, you see on television, and sometimes we say, oh, that's happening down south, or that's happening, in the Midwest or whatever. But these things are happening here literally in our own backyards as well.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I wanted to share today as well is a lot of times when we'll get into the recency of the recent events with George Floyd. One of the things that I wanted to, and I think I shared this with my wife a couple of weeks ago, whereas you always hear of, they say black men, black men, black men. And sometimes we forget that this not only happens to black men, but it happens to black women. Recently, someone sent us a story, and you didn't really hear a lot about this young lady on on social media. You heard it like probably a little bit of time, but her name was Breonna Taylor, and we have her picture up right there. And this young lady, she was working as an EMT in Louisville. And on March 13th, the 26-year-old aspiring nurse was killed in her apartment, shot at least 8 times by the Louisville police officer, who officially have said they were executing a drug warrant, according to the lawsuit filed by her family, accusing the officers of wrongfully death, an excessive force, and gross negligence. A few things: they were in the wrong apartment. One, this young lady wasn't armed, and they shot her an unprecedented 8 times and she was not armed or anything like that. And this is a young lady, 26 years old. I have a daughter that is 25 years old. So a year away from my daughter's age. So this is happening to our sisters too. So we have to be mindful. And it's unfortunately because you didn't hear too much about this particular young lady story. It wasn't a great outcries as you hear some of the other ones are, and we have to make sure that we're remembering it's not only happening to black men, it's happening to black women as well. So
and you know, in my running community, I'm involved with about 7 different running communities. Some, well, actually all of them are virtual right now because of the social distancing, but literally that spans across this country and internationally as well. And some of us began to talk about, um, to Kevin's point, you know, some of the men in the group began to talk about, you know, how, you know, men as we're out running, you know, look out for our sisters as you see them running, you know, be aware of their presence, if it happens to be in a park, if there are people that don't frequent that park, that look like they're up to no good. Like, we as a run community, we have to begin to look out for our sisters as well. And to Kevin's point, I will say that even up until, what was it, Monday, when I went on a longer run and I took a path that I'm familiar with, but I kind of extended it even more. I personally have noticed that when I've seen African American men running past me, they kind of give a sign like, "You okay?" And I just nod like, "I'm good." So it's a real thing that's happening, and it's not just a southern thing, it's not just a Midwest thing, it's a worldwide, but you know, even it's an America here in the United States of America, because of the elected officials that we have in government. They have kind of, as we say, put the battery in the backs of racist people who now, I don't know if you saw the signage, there was a gathering of people where there were white women who looked like, you know, soccer moms that were holding signs that said, "I'm racist and proud of it." So not only, you know, when I'm out running, again, I protect myself. When I'm running, especially now, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I have to remember to protect myself. I'm not only aware of, you know, the white males that are in my perimeter or near me when I'm running. I look out for all of them.
and it's a shame. It's unfortunate that in today's time you have to take these extra precautions, not because you're violent, not because you're whatever, just because of the color of your skin. People hate us just because of the color of our skin. They hate us just because we have different values and different, thought processes. They hate us typically because we have melanin in our skin, and not for anything that we've done. Not for they judge us based upon all kind of different things. But this is a sad day where in 2020 we're dealing with racism.
And here's the thing. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And so here's the thing. You hate us, but you mimic so many of the things that are intrinsically us, or that our culture has added to the nation. You hate us, but you get your lips plumped because your European lips are thinner, but you want fuller lips. You hate us, but you will wear your hairstyles in ways that have been historically tied to black women. You hate us, but you will modify your body to mimic that of the many black women just have as a part of their DNA. So you don't want to be us because you know how hard it is to be us in the United States of America, but you try to steal the things that are linked to our culture, our quote unquote swag, our jargon, the way that maybe we may dress, the different phenotype attributes that we have, but you don't really want to be us.
And for those that always say, and I know you guys might see, it's a
I'm sorry, icon. You will spend hours on the beach tanning to darn near look my complexion, but the thing about it is you get to let that tan fade off and continue in your white privilege. When it's convenient for you to be on vacation, will first of all get fleeced because, and I ain't mad at my sisters in the islands that will charge y'all $5 a braid, but you think it's fun and cool to, when you're on vacation, get braids put in your hair, but then when you come back to the United States and you see a sister with braids in her hair, you say derogatory things. And then while we're on that topic, it's not just the Europeans and other thans that, will put down the black woman for her attributes. We do it to ourselves. We've got to stop that. We get enough of that from those outside of our community that we within our community need to be unashamed, unapologetically black. And if you don't want to rock locks or braids or whatever, but you see a sister that chooses to wear her hair natural, or chooses to wear dreads, or chooses to wear braids, or whatever it is, don't feed in to that European brainwashing that she's less than because of a choice she made about her hair, or because she made a choice not to contour her nose to make it look thinner. She rocks her nose as full as it is, or rocks her lips as full as they are. We got to cut that out because we are just echoing the not enough or less than mantra that those outside of our community are constantly trying to send us through microaggressions, just straight up in our face, through the way people advertise that you are not enough unless you look like them.
Yeah. And one of the things also, we are always criticized for our silent protest, whether it's taking a knee whether it's saying Black Lives Matter, but it's reasons why we have to do this. It's reasons why those particular mantras are a staple in our community, because we have to address that Black lives do matter. Because and when you say all lives matter, we're not saying that all lives don't matter, but we have to put a special emphasis on the Black Lives Matter, because it's the Black lives that are being shot up by police. It's the Black lives that are being shot by just random white men because of the skin of their color. So yes,
the color of their skin,
the color of their skin. So we have to address those things. When you get upset at,
because we have to remind them Black Lives Matter. Because here's the thing: Central Park Karen, Amy Cooper, and I could just name many. And they apparently, the world knows that their lives matter, right? You let Becky Ann go missing, the whole freaking United States stops, drops, and rolls to try to find her. You let hundreds of Black young girls, hundreds of Black women, men, boys, and girls go missing. It's just a news line for maybe 1 or 2 days. You let people of color go on vacation and be murdered, go missing or harassed, and it may get a little byline on a news media outlet, but you let Becky Ann or Buff go on vacation and something happened to him, and now it's a world crisis.
Yes, and let's not forget, we do have a segment of people that understand that white privilege is real.
I've definitely had white friends. I'm sorry I cut you off. I've definitely had white friends who I know are allies. Yeah. And even in our run community, because I only actually belong to 2 run communities that are really geared towards Black runners, but the rest of them, they're multicultural. And in those communities, yes, we had people, and this is what I appreciate. I appreciate when an ally says to me, I can't lie and say, I know what you're going through because I'm not Black. What I can say to you is that I'm sorry that this is happening.
And they don't shy away from saying, yes, I see it. I see that the injustice is happening to African Americans. I see that white people have privilege that we try to decline. Like I have a former coworker, Irene. She posted yesterday, and it touched my heart. And she was just like, yes. She said, and you're getting upset for a man that's kneeling against injustice, but you don't see anything wrong with a man kneeling on another man's neck until he's dead. And so, I'm sorry. And that kind of woke something up. I was like, wow. So for those that are allies and those that stand with us and say, you know what, it's not fair what's happening to the Black community. It is an injustice. We celebrate you and we thank you also. And I was thinking about the Central Park Karen. Because of a person like the Central Park Karen, it was a Central Park 5. And it's certain, but they didn't have camera phones to protect them. So think about the
and those men. Don't even matter, because when you think about a young boy playing in a park with a play gun, young boy Tamir Rice, I believe.
Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice, I'm sorry. Playing with a gun. And so even on video, seeing him being gunned down.
No, what I'm saying is, imagine the men that have been incarcerated for stuff that wasn't true. So like, it's like I we really have to like get a hold on this, and it's where do you start at? Like, where do you start? But this injustice has to stop. So I guess we need to get into our last story.
So staying with Minnesota, Minneapolis. I'm sorry.
It's up this
way. Go up somewhere. I'm sorry.
It's right here.
So staying with Minneapolis. I'm sorry. Protesters gathered, which had started as a peaceful gathering in protest demanding justice for George Floyd. It then turned violent. The police were there, and it turned violent. Once again, now here's the thing.
Before you go, can we just tell them what happened in case they don't know?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what happened was a gentleman in Minneapolis, George Floyd, was being detained by police because they claimed that he tried to pass off a bad check to a store, and this particular gentleman, he was in handcuffs. He was on the ground. And for 10 minutes, this man, and I didn't even put the video up because it was just too much to watch again. This particular man, for 10 minutes, was on the ground with four cops around him, three of them on his back, two of them on his back, and one of them had his knee on his neck. The man was screaming, "I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. You're killing me. I cannot breathe."
They even were checking his pulse as the other officer continued to keep his knee on this man's neck. They did not even care that there were onlookers saying, screaming, Stop, you're killing him, he can't breathe. They didn't care that cameras were on
One of the
him.
gentlemen that were there trying to get them to stop was in the police academy with some of them and saying this is not proper tactics. Like, so they were well aware they were out of they were totally wrong. And when you look at the video, and I don't know how many people saw it, when they put this man on the stretcher, he was already gone. They said he died later. This man was lifeless when they put him on that stretcher, and they just kind of threw him on a stretcher, put him in a thing like he was just a dog. Like, I mean,
people cared more about. Let's talk about that for a second.
They care more about Angus
People
dog.
cared more about Michael Vick and a dog. And I'm a dog. We're former dog owners. We've always had dogs. I've had dogs since I was a kid. But let me tell you, a human life is worth less than a dog's life here in America.
No,
and here's the thing.
Hold on, let me
not
say this
only was that shown in the outcry, but also the fact that this man served time in jail. Talk about Michael Vick, served time in jail behind that. But you have people like because I tried to erase his name away from my brain.
George Zimmerman.
You walking free after taking a human life
and then making profit off of him taking that life. This man was selling artifacts on eBay. Like this
so
America.
Animals have more rights than black people in our nation. Let's just call it what it is. I live in an area where there are these what are they? Geese, whatever the heck they are. When they cross the street, the law is you have to stop and they get the right of way. We're talking about these geese. They're all over the world. I'm sorry, they're all over where we live. If I'm running, I have to give them the right of way. If I'm driving, I have to give the right of way. If you're caught hitting one of these animals, you will get a hefty fine and or be detained. But you have people being murdered because that's what it is.
And I wanted to find it. Let me just tell you how people value animals more than they value black lives. When the particular thing with the Central Park Karen, don't you know it was a petition to have the dog taken away from her because of the way she handled the dog? They overlooked that she
almost had a man arrested, and who knows, he could have been another George Floyd.
Yeah. And
once the police came,
and I think it was Malcolm X. I think it was Malcolm X that said it. He said that America has issued us a check, and it's bounced or something like that. It's something on the lines of that. But America, you have issued Black America a check that is no good. The land of liberty and the home of free has not pertained to us at all, and we still see it here in 2020. We have a president that that definitely advocates this foolishness.
And then you have people that wonder why y'all so mad. Why are y'all so angry? I had an ally. I say ally, and so if you don't know what that terminology is, a person who is not black but is well aware of the injustices that black people face here in America, right? And in their small ways, they do what they can. But I'm gonna get back to that in a second. But I have a friend who's an ally who, unprovoked, she came to me and she said, I don't understand how black people in America have not just like completely lost it. You guys endure injustice after injustice after injustice, and my people just don't care. I had a white woman say that to me. And, and she is one who said, I am not going to say I understand what you're going through, because I don't. Because I have white privilege. I am aware of that. But I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this happens to you all. And so for the allies, especially allies with a platform, allies with power, with star power, we need you to step up in meaningful ways. Yes, we ourselves, black folks, we need to make this more than just a hashtag, more than just a let's talk about this on social media this week and forget. One thing about the I Run with Ahmaud movement, they did not just make it a week-long thing and forgot. They are constantly doing things, I want to say almost daily, but several times a week. And their mission is, we will not just, well, I'm not going to say their mission is, but their thing is, we will not allow this just to be a hashtag that disappears. So they keep the conversation going. They keep pushing this in their local officials' faces, because this will not be swept under the rug for them. No, just arresting them is not enough. There needs to be systemic changes and for them, they said in their county, but even expanding, there needs to be systemic changes in order for true change to be affected there, because the system is broken. If you just have little counties doing systematic changes, that may make some small changes, but the whole system is corrupt.
And one of the things people always say, why are you guys always speaking to black own this and black own that and black own this? The reason why it's very important, the reason why we partnered up with Jam Network and it being a black-owned network, is because the black-owned network not only will entertain you, but they're going to also have a news channel.
They wouldn't stop us from having this conversation, where we couldn't have this conversation on another network.
And also, they won't utilize racist tactics to put African Americans in bad light. It's a shame that this young man, Ahmaud, lost his life, and the news media went back and found a video of an encounter with a police officer that tried to make him look like he was already a terror. That had nothing to do with the case. That was several years ago, and he was frustrated then for being targeted by police officers because he was not doing anything.
And it's a thing where it's, I've had my own situations where police officers were wrongly targeting two African American males in my presence. And this was years ago. So this was before, the unfortunate deaths of the men and women, let's not forget that, the men and women who have been murdered by those who are supposed to and are sworn to protect and serve not just their own race, but all. I've had my own situations where in my presence there were white police who targeted two African American males in my presence. And I can understand how someone can go from 0 to 100 in 0.2 seconds because I was that person. I stood defiantly years ago and told that officer, you will not do this to these two young men. They were not doing anything wrong. I've been here the entire time. You are racially profiling them. And if you do anything, I'm going to be an eyewitness to them. And what you're doing. And it escalated to the point where somebody called a lieutenant, and there were captains and lieutenant that immediately came to the scene because this police officer got on a bullhorn and put his hand on his gun and told me that if I did not leave the scene, it was going to be trouble for me. This man on a bullhorn was going. I said to him, "Oh, so what, you going to shoot me? So now you're going to shoot me and these two black men. Oh, this is about to be a whole. You're going to have to just shoot me then." And when he realized I was not backing down, and his partner then called senior, and this was years ago, senior officials, and they came on the scene, and immediately I began to walk towards his senior officials, and this idiot was still on the bullhorn. He was behind me telling me not to move. And I said, if you shoot me, you're going to have to shoot me in my back. I was walking to the lieutenant and to the captain, explaining that their dirty cop was just about to that was racially profiling two innocent young black boys. After I finished explaining what was happening, he was immediately reprimanded in front of me and told to go back to where, I guess, the station. I don't know what happened after that. So I know firsthand how a person can just be so frustrated when they see injustice, and then how that could be spun to, oh, if that would have been now, somebody would have had a camera and said, oh, she deserved to get shot in the back.
Yeah. And then I want to make sure that the frustration of the injustice is the reason why you see the protests turn violent. You have young people that are tired. We get no results, and the only thing they know what to do after a while is to just throw stuff. They're frustrated. They're being attacked because of the color of their skin. So when you see, and the media puts out that we look barbaric because we're responding to an injustice, it's because we're tired. We're frustrated. We're tired of dealing with it, and nobody seems to care. So
we have to care for our own community.
We have to care.
And you know what, Kevin? One of the things, like when I was talking about with the I Run with Ahmaud movement, right? They have had several protests, walking protests, where they went from, I don't know if it was a scene of the crime and walked, but they did walk to City Hall, and it was a peaceful protest. So for all of you out there who say when you have a bunch of black folks get together, they act barbaric, they don't know how to act or whatever, go watch that video. It was very well organized, and it was Ahmaud's best friend who was who was taking the video of the entire march. But there were also police in the area that kept the agitators back, because what the media does not show is that in many of these instances where black people gather to peacefully march, you have agitators on the sideline egging them on, throwing things and all this stuff, trying to get a rise out of them so that when the anger just boils over, all of a sudden the cameras go on when you see the black people responding to being spit at, things thrown at them, things being said to them.
And a great example of that is where it backfired was was it South Carolina where Corey went?
And in Virginia. It was Virginia. Oh gosh. It just escaped me. Somebody help me. When they had the white supremacists, and then they ended up even killing one of their own
that was standing with African Americans. This young lady one of the guys took their car and tried to run through the crowd, and fortunately enough, the media caught this, and what they probably didn't think they were going to catch them, the response. So this is why you see the outcry that you see. Yes, we have a generation of individuals that was influenced by Dr. Martin Luther King, but we also birthed a generation that was inspired by Malcolm X. So you guys can't forget that, and because we can't wait for the system to defend us. You see a young generation that's saying we're going to defend ourselves.
Enough is enough.
So we have a musical guest to end off the show. Yesterday, I actually took the time to curate something that I put my skill or whatever to work, and we're going to leave you with this video presentation. And the song is called Black Lives Matter. It's by B-Slade. And you'll see through the video that you'll see African Americans that have been targeted by police officers in white America.
And what I want to say as we go is, yes, we know that not every white American is racist. That's not what we're saying at all. We know that every person that is not my same hue, does not have, my ancestry. We know that not every non-African American, non-Latina, Latinx, Latino, non-Asian American. We know that not every white person is racist. But this is what I'm going to ask you. If you fall into that category, and I know many, and I am friends with, Kevin and I have a very diverse group of friends. Mm-hmm. White, black, Spanish, Asian, you name it. We Italian, German, Irish. We have, a very diverse group of friends. What I'm asking you to do is to use your voice, not just to whisper to me, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but use your voice to help our cause. Now, black people, we gotta use our own voices as well. We can't just depend on white America to help us. We have to use our voices as well. But let's think back to the Underground Railroad. Yes, Harriet was the Moses of the time, leading the slaves to freedom. But white America, who claimed to be our allies, listen to me. The Underground Railroad was successful because you had Black Moses, Harriet Tubman, who was leading slaves who were being brutalized, murdered, castrated. You had women being raped, men being sodomized, all of these things. The Underground Railroad was successful, allies, because there were allies to Black Moses, Harriet Tubman, who were not afraid to put their white privilege and their white status on the line to help. So if you want to help, think about that. The Underground Railroad, yes, there was a community of Black people who were working in concert together, but there were also the allies who put their hands to the plow, not just lip service, but they put their hands to the plow and said, how can I help? Many of them lost their lives too, and were hung right alongside Black people.
And you'll be surprised.
But we have to do this together.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. My individuals that are not African Americans, you'll be surprised that when they hear it come from you, they'll probably take another look at it, and you might even be challenged that it's not real. But they need to hear it sometimes from you. They need to hear it that, you know, no, it's not fair what they're doing to what they're doing to African Americans. Yes, we do have privilege, because some people are naive to the point that they do. And we definitely appreciate, what do you call them? Our allies that stand in the gap with us. You're needed. We definitely, because sometimes they won't hear us. They won't hear us, but they'll hear you. So thank you for being those counterparts. Anything else before we go? I don't think I have anything.
Listen.
Oh, I do. Me and my wife did a video not too long ago where it was called Some Kind of Challenge. And that was shared and viewed over 4,000 times. I'm asking and I'm challenging you. This is a conversation that needs to have the same amount of shares and views, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. So if you can share this, tag people, whatever I don't ask that too often. We do ask that you share our videos but I'm imploring you, please share this particular video. Let this get the views that
we did a koala challenge and had almost 5,000 views.
Yeah. This
is far more consequential than a koala challenge.
Yes, so please share. I'm gonna leave you with this video. It was just a piece of work that I did that just spoke to where we are now, and I hope it touches you in some kind of way. You guys have a great day.
We continue to ignore another